Sunbreak was a highly anticipated addition for Rise when it was announced, and it was definitely delivered up to its hype that all the fans showered it with, including myself at the time. The best thing about updates is just seeing, all the new monsters and variants the devs create to send off to us so we can challenge them and see how much work they put into it. We saw many of the new ones in the trailers they released prior to releasing Sunbreak, and once it dropped, oh, it was really amazing, man. Just seeing a subspecies for Rakadakagaki was just beautiful because personally, I love insects and spiders, and seeing insects and arachnid monsters in Monster Hunter games are kind of rare, but they usually never disappoint. So with that subspecies, the community was even more excited, and all we could have done was imagine what they put out next. Once Sunbreak dropped, everyone started to grind. I tried to just grind as much as I could at that time. Sounds a little weird, but eventually we would have seen all the new monsters added up by the time we completed the story and fully ranked up. Then we waited for the next incoming title updates, just like how we do for every other game. But unfortunately though, one of the unique and well-designed monsters, in my opinion, wasn't given a subspecies, variant, apex, or anything. That monster was Goss Harag.
The snowy depths. It comes to find its prey. With its chilling breath, it forms a blade of ice. The beast hears all. Returns I
At first, I honestly thought they would give him a powerful subspecies in the later title updates. But obviously now, since Sunbreak updates have ended, nothing of the sort was to be found nor even seen. So, as I am myself, I didn't really think of it as much like as a big deal, because, who knows, they could just bring him back in the next game and just give him a subspecies then. But what would the variant be like? And would it fit into the rest of the other future Monster Hunter genre? Or just be a cool and unique design scrapped from Rise and put into Monster Hunter 6? That's where I came along, to just wonder about how I could create a cool design that isn't basic like a lava or fire variant that a lot of people like to make for some reason. We didn't need any more of those fire types in Rise anyways, we had way too many. So the first thing that hit my mind was a little fire, some sand, a lot of bleed, and some glass. That led me to end up with Glass Harag, a species that inhabits the sandy environment and only the sandy environment. I first actually made this monster around, I'd say 7 months ago, and even posted it to Reddit, while also making its description that included its type, threat level, characteristics, known habitats, and hunting, but never went anywhere else from there. Before showing that, I just wanted to say that I haven't made the parts, element effectiveness, and the materials. I just never really got to the part, and it would take a huge amount of time. But I did try a little on the parts section, but never went to full detail. Going back to what I did make though, starting off with the monster's type and threat level, I just kept it simple for both, identified it as a fanged beast, and gave it a 10 stars for the difficulty. Its difficulty will definitely be higher than its regular counterpart. I wanted to give it an evil 10 because he'd be a challenging one. With the bleed effect, especially when enraged, would just be a hassle to deal with, let alone the other mysterious moves this beast behold. Just the original Gossharag is just a tank already, so imagine this dude. Characteristics was a section I had a lot of fun with. As I stated in my document, Glass Harag, a polar opposite of Gossharag. These beasts inhabit the windy deserts, the rough back fur acting as a shield. It can create sandstorms with its arms. Then inhaling the sand, they spit it on their hands. While heating up or enraged, the glass begins to form. Their glass paws are so clear, so deadly, they infect prey to bleed. This part of the monster description, can already have you imagine all sorts of details this monster has. A tan, dark, hardened back fur, shiny and translucent glass paws when it's enraged, the sandy strike it repels out. This was one section I definitely took time to think about. For the known habitats, I just kept it simple and isolated. Sandy plains is the only habitat it can be found in. Hunting was a part I didn't know how to start with, but I easily figured out what to do once I got some type of imagery. The mechanics of this monster are really interesting. I'm glad I had a creative mind back then, and I still do. Hunting. While you must avoid its rough, sandy back fur, its glass paws form, but they can be broken. Attacking and breaking its glass paws weakens its defensive back fur, leaving it as a critical point to attack. I wanted a strong monster while making this species, and with a good amount of balanced mechanics was going to help me achieve that. I gave the species a hard and defensive back fur for the monster to use as a shield, and then when its other enraged mechanic was broken, glass paws, or glass blade, whatever, his shield would too be broken, and would be a spot for the hunters to target for chunks of damage. I did say before, I didn't work on the parts element effectiveness and materials section, but I did actually do the parts section on Google Sheets, but it's something I can't really fully understood, and I don't want to look it up and figure it out, so I'm too lazy. So I just winged it, and did the best I could for reference. So originally, Gossharag has 6 main parts to attack: the head, torso, foreleg, ice clump, back, and hind leg. I changed one and added one. I switched ice clump with glass clump and added another part, which was the back again, but when it's weakened, aka back critical. Given these changes was an important factor of my monster's ecology in terms of its weakening points and what can allow us to put out high damage onto its body. The first column was head, like usual, and I just winged it with the numbers, other than on like certain elements that I think are weak to the subspecies in my opinion, but that's just for every column. Second column was torso, which is also a part that is weaker than the other parts of the body, so yeah. Third column was foreleg, just normal. Fourth column was glass clump, a one I changed for obvious reasons, for the name, title. This part is also a part that is weaker than others, just like how the ice clump is. Fifth column was back. Sixth column was just an addition I wanted to add myself to show how crucial it is to not only target the monster's glass clumps, but also its back during the brawl. Finally, seventh column was hind leg, which is just a normal rating like half the others are. Moving on to my favorite part of the monster, the design. Not gonna lie, it took me some time to land on exactly what the monster's color scheme would be, but just using some tans and reference from things like sandstone or any desert related materials quickly fitted into my idea. Starting from the top, I colored the horn-like structures a tannish color. The color honestly blended really well and looked way better than I thought it would. For the eyes, I just colored them red, since the regular Goss are yellow and it would be a good counterpart for its counter species. I used the same color as the horns for the top part of the fur, which also looks nice. The regular Goss actually already has a whitish tan like fur, so I made this one more tangerine tan to add more contrast. Going down from there, I messed up a little. I made his bottom fur a little darker than I wanted to. I should have blended it more or used just a lighter brown. But this is the first time I've drawn my subspecies, so I don't mind entirely that much. Now the arms are legs, and legs. I love how they look. They remind me of some orange sandstone, rock-like pebbles embedded in sand. I made his limbs lighter in color and the pebbles darker in orange. Claws would stay white to keep the steam of glass for rock. But I just love how they came out, really. I wanted to not drastically change the appearance of when it's enraged, but definitely give it a few details. First off, its horn structures would gain darker tint at the tips. Second, the fur on its back would grow individual black spiky furs and puff out, just like how animals do with their fur when skeptical. Obviously they don't grow black, spidey tits, but they do kind of puff out when skeptical. Then I added the simultaneously elevated back furs for details and more depiction to add a more frightening demeanor to the beast. Altogether, just a few details so hunters will know from a mediocre distance that you can tell if the monster was enraged or not. Or you could probably know just from its arms, which is what I'm talking about next. On Reddit sometime back, I said, when it is raging, the heat boils the sand into glass. It's similar to the regular gossharag if you read its characteristics in-game, where he inhales air to freeze his body fluids and spits them out. I guess this species would inhale the steam coming out. This is obviously talking about its glass blades fist. It might be a little confusing, but I mean just like how glass is made, it's boiled or melted at high temperatures. But still, I might have worded it wrong, but I hope people somewhat understand what I'm talking about. I also dislike how many people said it's a fire subspecies, but it really is not a fire subspecies, even though it has to do with fire a little bit. But we have way too many fire subspecies to count it as one, for me to count it as one in Rise. Anyways, I drew his blades just as they are originally, but glass, which draws out a more reason to include the bleed effect. Just fits perfectly. Whenever Goss forms his other weapon, this thing, I actually drew two variations for it, which I think either would fit. So the first one I drew was just like a simple glass clump, nothing too detailed or anything. But for the second, I drew a fist-like crystal that would be rigid. It looks a little different a bit, obviously with some rigid corners and edges. Overall, I really like this idea. Never did anything with it for like almost a year until now. So I really love the idea, and I hope others also see how I do. We really were reaped of a subspecies for Goss in this amazing game, Monster Hunter Rise. An amazing addition to Rise for sure. I really do hope we get to see him in Monster Hunter 6, because we didn't even get an Apex version of him. Anyways, thank you all for watching. School's starting up for me, so I'll try to be consistent with my posts, even though this is my first video after all. But it's finally nice to be introduced to the Monster Hunter community. Peace.